All right, man, peace. So for those of you brothers who've been on my channel long enough, you know that oftentimes I like to delve into the concept of quote unquote relationships in this society that we live in. Why is that? Because quote unquote relationships are often the stumbling block that lead to the so-called black man's demise, whether it be mentally, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. If you show me a fractured man, oftentimes I can show you a man who was not instructed properly on many of the dynamics in this society regarding relationships. And it's very important to understand those dynamics. I did a video a while ago called Watch Your Woman's Friends. Why did I make that video? Because a lot of brothers don't understand, or were not taught to understand, that whatever the energy is, whatever the spirit is of the women that are in your woman's retinue, that's going to be the same type of spirit that's within your woman. So if your woman is surrounded by $2 hoes, most likely she's a $2 hoe. And if she's not showing it now, she's going to show it down the line. And oftentimes problems can be avoided if we're more perceptive, if we walk circumspectly, and if we pay attention to what's going on around us. That's very, very, very important. Why am I bringing all this up? Because on the news, they had a segment pertaining to that same sentiment, that friends can and often do affect the outcome of your relationship. And people find themselves compromising themselves or changing themselves in order to appeal to a friend. And I will be reiterating this throughout the video. Brothers, you're not supposed to be trying to change yourself to appeal to one of your woman's friends. Once you're with the woman, it's her job to vouch for you. Our job is to love the woman how she's supposed to be loved and protect her as long as she's conducting herself accordingly. Respect her and her family, but it's not your job to be trying to win over one of her little thotties. And for the most part, you're going to find that if your relationship is important enough, and if her friends are destructive enough, a decision is going to have to be made by the woman of whether or not she's going to want to continue the relationship either with you and backslide back into being a thotty, or cut off the thotties and deal with you. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
If your spouse cannot stand your friends, it could have a negative effect on your marriage. Researchers poured over 16 years of data for a 2017 study. They looked at responses from 355 newlywed couples who participated in a University of Michigan survey. Couples were asked questions like,
Now, before he continues, look at this essay here at the top right. It says, quote, "I love you, not your friends." And this is an issue that many of you brothers most likely are dealing with. If you find that you're in a situation where you're with a woman and you're trying to develop a closer relationship with her, and she's showing that she's as concerned about maintaining the affinity with a woman who has no intention of being in a real relationship with a man, that's a major red flag. That's a major red flag. Because what is eventually going to happen? Your woman is going to start backsliding back into that thotty world. She's going to say things like, "Hey, I want to go to the club with Trina this Friday. I want to hang out at the bar with Trina this Saturday." Remember, like seeketh like. Can two walk together unless they be in agreement? I don't care how good the ass is on a chick. I don't care how well she can cook. I don't care how nice she treats you initially. If she has an issue, understanding that life is about a series of growth spurts, emotionally and spiritually, and she has to give her friends an ultimatum. And I'll probably be covering this in another video regarding the show Insecure. There's going to come a time in your life that the only way that your friends are going to be able to make that journey with you is if they're growing in the same way that you're growing. That's a part of life. It's a part of life. When we were in junior high school or high school, we might have known dudes that were destructive and we just didn't know better. But when you grow, you start to know. When you know better, you do better. You have to separate from certain people as you get older. That's a part of life. And if your woman does not understand that in regards to the people that she surrounds herself with, your relationship with them is not going to work. It's not going to work. All right? I'm just stressing that for a lot of you brothers, because some of you might be in that conundrum right now. But you always have to pay attention to the energies that are around your woman, because the woman is a receptacle by nature. She's a receiver by nature. Okay? She's not an emitter. She's a receiver. That's why she's supposed to listen to you. You're supposed to have the wisdom and the knowledge to inform your woman. And I'm not saying that you should proactively be trying to break up the friendships between your woman and her friends. She has to realize that. All right. Like they said, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. If you're in a relationship with the woman and you know that you're a positive force in her life and you guys are building something productive, but she's unable to understand that her friend is destructive and possibly trying to destroy your relationship with her, if she can't see that, that's another major red flag. You may have to start to understand, it may have to start ruminating in your mind that this relationship is going to end very soon. And just as an aside, that's why I tell a lot of you brothers, especially a lot of you brothers that are in the knowledge, it's best that when you start to grow spiritually, that you don't have a significant other. Because it's very difficult for a woman to go on that spiritual journey, that spiritual transformation with you. It's very difficult, almost impossible. All right? It's almost impossible because when the scriptures tell you that you become a new creature, that's very real. You don't think the same. You don't act the same. You don't view things the same. You're not going to be viewed the same. Your priorities are going to change. All right? It's almost like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. You have to understand this. And the little chick that you was with, back when you had the mindset of a spiritual child, y'all used to go to McDonald's together, or Burger King, and go to the movies and bug out and all that other shit. And now you might not feel like hanging out to that degree, or you might have new interests. Your thoughts might be of greater depth. She might not be able to go that far out deep into the ocean with you. She might start to say, you know what, I decided that maybe we need a break. That's okay. All right. But you always have to understand the importance of energies and how they're going to affect you and your relationship, man. Remember, everything in this life is temporary. There's nothing in this life that's permanent. Nothing. All right. So at the end of the day, when you're dealing with these women and their friends, you have to be able to know right away how copacetic you're going to be with her friend and what her friend is dealing with. Because if her friend is a $2 hoe and your girl likes hanging out with her friend, that means that your girl has some DNA strands of $2 thottery, $2 hoery, $2 harlotry. Some of them DNA strands is floating around in your woman. Okay? So don't marvel when shit don't work. And a lot of times the Most High will have those things happen so that you can sharpen up and be better prepared for the next person.
Does your wife or husband have friends that you would rather she or he not spend time with?
Let me say this also. If you have a homeboy and you know that he's destructive and maybe he might be feeling a certain type of way, I mean, that it's more rare with men, because for the most part, men are not going to try to intervene between his homeboy and his woman. Men tend to be a bit more understanding. Men know how to handle idle time better than the average woman does. That's if he's a man. Now, if he's just a male and he likes to just stand out in the middle of the street or stand on the corner, then he might have a hard time with it because he might be looking for his homeboy to be idle with. At the end of the day, if your male friend, if you're a man and your male friend has an issue with your woman, normally a man is going to be able to qualify. He's going to say, "No, I'm not feeling that chick because she been around. I hit that," or "I know a homeboy who hit that," or "she has a reputation." Normally men are going to qualify it. Now the woman, your woman and her friend might not like you because she want you. Or her friend might not like you because she sees what's going on. You're pulling the woman out of that idle-minded lifestyle, that go to the club, go to the bar lifestyle. So the dynamics are different. But once again, in this society, that's always going to be a major issue, is these women and their friends.
Wall Street Journal reporter Elizabeth Bernstein wrote about how these friendships can strain marriages in her latest column.
And Elizabeth Bernstein, you don't know shit. You're another woman talking shit, trying to act as if you could speak for men.
And she joins us at the table. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Looking like the comedian Carrot Top.
We've been fascinated by this discussion. We've been having it since our editorial meeting yesterday because it's...
Oh, stop it, Vlad. Y'all have not been having no conversation since the editorial meeting yesterday. The women in your group, Gail and this other chick, they were probably going on and on and on about the concept of friends ruining relationships, and you were sitting there in the meeting trying not to offend them, because every male working at CBS and all these news stations now, you guys are scared to death to offend these women. You were just there in the meeting talking about, "Oh, wow, what you said was deep, Gail. Oh, I never thought of that. Rihanna or Miana, whatever the hell this other broad's name is. Wow, you guys are so insightful. Oh, let me write this down in my phone. Let me make some notes for tomorrow. You guys are so brilliant. That's all you was doing. Y'all wouldn't have no real conversation.
Such an intriguing study, and I was sort of wondering if it's the reason that it may affect men and women differently is that women...
Because men and women are different. That's why it affects men and women differently, Vlad, because men and women are different. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. No, we're not the same. No, we're not equal. Men can do things that women can't do, will never dream of being able to do, and vice versa. Women can do things that men will never be able to do and would not dream of being able to do. Nobody can bring your family together like a strong woman, like a good woman, like how she's supposed to. Nobody can provide nurturing and support like a good woman, like she's supposed to. In the same way, nobody's going to be able to lead like a real man and provide insight like a real man and how a man is supposed to. That's how it works. They fit together. It's not supposed to be no damn competition, because can a woman compete with me? I'm a grown man. Can nobody take my place ever in life?
Women tend to have much longer or more integral relationships with their girlfriends. And dudes, we're just sort of like, if you don't like the woman that your friend is dating, you're like, not going to really say anything.
Not going to say.
Well, it depends. It depends on how much they infract. If the woman is overtly disrespectful in some way, you might have to tell your woman. You might have to say, look, your girl Trina, what's up with her? And depending on your woman's response, then you know where to go from there. Or you know that there may be some, some thoughts that are going to have to start moving around in your mind, circling around in your mind in regards to how far this is going to go. But that happens not just with the woman's friends. It might happen with the family. It might happen with the mother. The mother is also a heavy influencer on these women, because most of these females in America are being raised in a matriarchy. And oftentimes the mother is unable or has been unable to maintain a positive relationship with a man. So you have to understand that can affect the daughter. All right. So there are a lot of different factors that you have to consider when you're dealing in these relationships with these modern day women, who for the most part are bugged out of their damn minds.
Not my place.
It does exactly relate to male-female friendships. So the women have these intimate, deep friendships with their...
Oh, please. These women have these intimate, deep friendships. Let's be for real. For the most part, most of these women that are friends with one another, they're only friends with one another because they have been unable to maintain a relationship with a man. That's why. And deep within the recesses of the minds of most of these women who are 45 years old and been hanging out with the same crew since they was 20, they look back and they say to themselves, wow, I had a good man when I was 23, and this bitch over here talked me out of it. And they'll be at the bar drinking, acting like they're sisters and going to be sisters forever. And still within the recesses of their mind, they'll be having those thoughts. Because the Lord put women on the earth to be a wife and a mother. That's the greatest satisfaction that the woman will have in her lifetime, is being a wife and a mother. That's it. So all this shit about all these deep friendships. Nowadays, brothers, if you find a good woman that doesn't have any like fake deep friendships, you really found a gold nugget. Because I'm going to be very, very frank with you. If you have a decent woman and she has friends that are not decent or that could be influences on her, that could impede the development of your relationship with your woman. Because in a real relationship, you guys have to be focused on one another, man. You guys have to be focused on one another. So if she's over there running around with her little slutty homegirls, what the hell's going on? Like the scriptures tell you, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So if a double-minded man is unstable, what about a double-minded woman? I mean, shit, some of these bros are quadruple-minded. They're all over the damn place.
If they're friends, their female friends especially, we're going to share everything and talk. Men are going to golf, they're going to sail, they're going to go do things together.
And don't
never
talk.
Going to talk about
And they
it.
don't
Right.
talk.
Now listen to Gail. Gail jumping in, and they don't talk. And you'll see this a lot on television. And a lot of brothers say, well, they don't watch television. Well, you have to be aware of what's going on around you, because many of these women, they do watch television. And the energy that these women receive is going to affect you. So you have to be cognizant of it to some degree. Now, Gayle King is not qualified to speak for men. And most of these men on television are too scared to even attempt to do what Gayle is doing right now, which is speak for women. If this guy in the middle, Vlad, had dared to put forth energy like that or sentiment like that, and women talk too much, Gayle, this other chick, Biana or Miana Rodriguez, whatever the hell her name is, and the fake psychiatrist on the right, they all would have turned to him and said, how dare you speak for women? But so many of these modern day Luciferian, old, quickly expiring broads on television feel like they have the right to speak about or for men. And you know who I blame for that? I blame the men. Because men have allowed themselves to conform into this paradigm where modern day females actually think that they're smarter than men. And it's a big joke. But these guys are so damn scared, man. But no, men talk about their relationships, but it depends on the rapport that they have with that next dude. I have brothers that we talk about whatever's going on in our life, but it's not something that we go on and on and on about. If the topic comes up, then it comes up. I always tell cats that there's a direct correlation between the level of understanding that you have of the woman and the level of understanding that you have of the scriptures. If you're a cat that don't understand the woman, if you're a simp, you cannot teach the Bible. Because all you are is a woman trapped in a man's body. Right? You have to have the spirit of a man to thoroughly be able to teach the scriptures. Because if not, you're going to be confounded by things because you're going to be leading with your emotions.
But they're not.
Why does it cause problems if the guy doesn't like the woman's friends?
So he doesn't like her friends several things. He could be intimidated by the intimacy she's sharing.
Or he could just feel harassed and bothered by the level of idiocy of having to be around all these children with titties. At the end of the day, if you have an intimate relationship with your woman has to understand that there's a hierarchy in her life, and the man has to come first. The friends have to be put by the wayside. And if the woman doesn't understand that, that's a major red flag for you. You have to be focused on how your woman views you in juxtaposition to other people. I'm not saying that if you're laying in bed and you have the sniffles, that the woman is just supposed to put everything to the side and act like you're the be all and end all. But there are responsibilities there that she has to understand. And you have to observe that. Once again, you're not supposed to be concerned with trying to change the woman. I'm going to say it again. You're not supposed to be concerned with trying to change her. As men, of course, you instruct the woman. That's how you build up your relationship and your rapport with the woman. But at the end of the day, you cannot turn a hoe into a housewife, bro. It's a colloquialism, it's a saying, but it is very, very true. You cannot turn a hoe into a housewife. All right? So you have to watch what's going on around you. That's the bottom line. But no man in his right mind wants to hang out with a whole bunch of women all around him. What the hell is the point of that? What edification? What elucidation are you getting from that? Do men walk up into a woman's beauty salon and just sit there to listen to the conversation, or do they walk up in there to pick up their woman? What grown man in his right mind want to sit around women all damn day talking nothing but nonsense and madness? Talking about reality shows and all that dumb shit. The point of you cohabiting with women or being in the same space with women is eventually to build up a level of intimacy. That's the point. But in this society, most of these women cannot maintain a relationship. So now they have to build up all these fake platonic relationships, all these workplace relationships. A lot of these women have workplace boyfriends, all this dumb shit, because they're not properly being trained on how to be a woman to a man. Like some of these chicks that come on my channel want to try to argue in the comments, all that silly shit. You must be out of your damn mind. All that time you spending clickety-clacking, you should be clickety-clacking on your phone to your man to make sure that he's having a good day. That's your job. That's your job. Because I don't give a shit what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, the focus has to be there, brothers. Even the scriptures tell you when you read Ecclesiasticus, the 42nd chapter. Ecclesiasticus is in the King James 1611 Bible. Because I know I'm going to have some guy in the comments say, Ecclesiastes doesn't have 42 chapters, brother. No, Ecclesiasticus in the King James Version 1611 Bible in the 42nd chapter is going to tell you to sit not in the midst of women. You're not supposed to sit in the middle of a gaggle of women, because it's going to be nothing but nonsense pouring forth out of their mouth. That's it. So it's regular, it's common for a man to not want to hang out with his woman's friends. You're not supposed to have the mindset of feeling like you have to win them broads over. Just be you. If y'all vibe, y'all vibe. If not, then no. And if that's a make or break for you and your woman, then that means that the woman has her friend on a pedestal above you anyway. So they might as well go off and be lesbians.
she's sharing with the friend. He could be jealous of it. He could be worried she's talking about him. You know, all of these things can be sort of threatening to him. He may feel there's not...
If you're a grown man, why the hell would you be that concerned about your woman talking about you to her so-called friend? If she's talking about you to her friend, it must be good if the relationship is good. If the relationship is bad and you're worried about her going to talk to her friend, that should be the least of your concerns. Now, if the friend is influencing her to treat you poorly, you should be developing your exit strategy anyway. Because a weak-minded broad can't do shit for you. What the hell a weak-minded broad going to do for you if she's that easily influenced by somebody else? The friend doing you a favor. And at the end of the day, the friend probably wants some rod from you anyway.
Intimacy in the relationship, the marriage. So why are you spending more time or talking to her about things you should talk to me?
So the odds of divorce are higher if the male doesn't like his wife's friends, as opposed to the opposite, right?
Especially when he thinks...
Allegedly. If the odds of divorce are higher because the male doesn't like the wife's friends, I guarantee you it's still because the wife is initiating the divorce proceedings. Because the vast majority of divorces are initiated by the woman in this society. Why is that? Because most women do not really want to be married. They just want the wedding. They want the glory of the wedding. That's it. They don't really want to be quote unquote married. But I guarantee you, whether it's the man who does not like his woman's friends or the woman who does not like the man's friends, the vast majority of divorces are initiated by the woman. All right? It's difficult to get a man to sign a marriage contract. It's difficult enough. You think he's looking to just get a divorce? Come on.
He thinks that those friends are interfering.
Yeah. It was interesting to see that race also plays a role in this research. Tell us about that.
It's interesting because this effect, where if he doesn't like her friends, they're more likely to divorce, that effect was stronger for white couples. So the black couples were a little protected, and the researchers believe it's probably because black couples, blacks have maybe more strong family ties, or they look to their family more.
In other words, you were hypothesizing and speculating because you're not so-called black. So you would have no idea why friends or the relationship with friends would affect the Caucasian more than so-called black people. First off, we have to understand when they're developing any type of graph or census or whatever poll that they're taking, they're not taking into account that so-called black people have the lowest rate of marriage. So what does that mean? That means that the people who do get married, they're more focused on staying married. For a so-called black man, for him to say, I'm going to marry this woman, I mean, literally, he has to be going through super duper duper hell for him to say, okay, let's get divorced. So the last thing that he's going to be that concerned about is his wife's friend. If he was that concerned about his wife's friend, he wouldn't have gotten married in the first place. When you're dealing with other races who have higher rates of marriage, of course, there are going to be issues that cause them to get married to a higher degree because it was easier for them to get married in the first place. For a so-called black man to get married, believe me, believe me, he got to come home and see his wife getting gangbanged by the entire post office for him to say we getting divorced. Because I know some stories about dudes. There's a dude that used to work or that works at the job that I was at before I left corporate America. You know, shout out to my brother Greg. He was always trying to get me to talk to this dude on the phone because of his relationship issues. And I said, hell no. I'm not going to tell him the truth about what's going on in his relationship because I'm not going to open up the newspaper one day or look on my phone one day and see this dude then kill his woman and his children because he finally understood what was going on in his so-called married life. All right. Brothers have to understand something, man. Knowledge is power. And everything that you know and understand, you don't have to tell people because what you say can affect them in a certain way. And it might not be a good way. Sometimes you have to let people figure out the truth on their own, especially if you can tell that they don't have the mental stability to make the right decisions if they're privy to too much information. Everybody cannot be privy to the same extensive level of information because they're not all going to know what to do with it. Some people are going to take revelations and it's going to be too much for them. That's a problem that we have right now on YouTube. It's information overload. You have people who are just privy to too much information now, and it's just messing with their head. It's like trying to pour a gallon of water into a glass that can only fill, half a gallon. It's going to be an overflow. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this woman has no understanding in regards to why certain people are getting divorced more than other people based off of friends or what have you. And beyond that, because so many so-called black males are being raised in matriarchies, it's much more common for them to accept destructive women surrounding their woman than other races of men. Other races of men, if they see some bullshit going on with their woman, they say, okay, meet me at the divorce lawyer's office tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. The black man is so used to getting cursed out by all these women, he's able to tolerate more shit.
For this kind of nurturing and support, and maybe that was it. They also maybe have stronger church communities. There's other protective things around those couples.
Well, I'll give her that. That might be a part of it. We know that the so-called black man tends to be a little bit more spiritual. But for the most part, believe me, for a brother to get married, he's not looking to get divorced. That's the last thing he's looking to do. He's trying to weather the storm.
If my best friend didn't like my husband or the guy I was dating, that would give me pause because
Of course, that's why you're single at 65 years old, Gail King. That's why your ass is single at 65 years old with a wig on your head. Because anybody who tell you anything about the man who's with you, you wouldn't listen to that shit.
Because I would think, what does she see that I don't, as opposed to...
She sees some rod. She sees some rod that she gonna take from you as soon as she provoke your dumb ass to leave that man. All right? That's probably how Oprah got Stedman. Stedman was probably dating her before he was dating Oprah. Oprah said, girl, you got to leave that man. He's not right for you. Next week, Oprah was boning him.
You're wrong about him.
Exactly. So, and that's another reason why he's probably worried. Right? Because he's thinking, wow, what is she saying? What is that friend saying about me? Is my wife or partner listening to that person?
Why doesn't it work the reverse for guys? Because they don't care?
Because they're just not talking as much.
Okay.
They're really just not, they aren't sharing as much. He is.
How would you know what men are sharing? You have no idea what men are sharing for you to sit there and speak for men. Things affect men. It's just that men know how to compartmentalize things. That's if you have the mindset of a man. Things go through a man's head all the time. It's just that if you're a grown man and you've been raised in a strong environment, you know how to compartmentalize things better than the woman, because the woman is an emotional creature by nature. That's just the fact of the matter. Now, because in this society, the genders are raised to be in constant conflict, that leads to anarchy in the household. Because at one time, the woman knew to subject herself to the man because she understood her own flaws in regards to her psychological makeup. And even today, a lot of times women will say, you know how us women are. Now, if a man says, you know how those women are, he's a misogynist and a chauvinist. But women all the time will say that. You know how us women are. So if you acknowledge that a gender has certain character traits or personality traits, that means that we're not equal. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because not being equal does not mean better than. All that means is different. We have a part to play. You have a part to play. No, stay in your lane. Stay in our lane. We don't crash.
Not blabbing about his wife, most likely.
Yeah.
Even when men are getting divorced.
I've seen it
not.
Let me say this, because this woman's talking a lot of shit. You know if your homeboy is having issues with his woman. If y'all hanging out or chilling out or what have you, you'll know if you having, if your friend is having issues with his woman. A lot of times he'll say something. Yo, man, let me tell you what this bitch just did. I come home, all my clothes on the floor. I can't believe this shit. Those type of conversations, they happen, man. So this woman's trying to act like men just look at one another and talk about the football game all day. Trying to push that, that caveman mentality. Men just go to work and eat steaks and talk about football.
Exactly, Elizabeth. I've seen guys go through divorce and they haven't even told their friends they're going through a divorce.
Really? What guys were you hanging out with that were going through divorce and they have not told their friends about divorce? Gail King. What guys allowed you into their cipher that you know about that for a fact? Or is that hearsay?
So they're just not sharing as much. It's not as threatening to that relationship. Also, a woman tends to control sort of the social life of the couple. So she doesn't like his friends.
I'm not quite sure if the woman tends to control the social life of the couple. I think that if you're dealing with a man who is, just willing to go along to get along, and for the most part in this society, most of the so-called husbands, that's how they are. They go along to get along. Now, I'm not going to say that every so-called husband is a simp or lacks a spine, but just to be married to most modern-day females in America, there has to be an element of that in there somewhere. Now, you also have a lot of men who are strong, and fortunately for them, they're with a woman who understands male strength, and they happen to have gotten quote-unquote married. But for the most part, you'll find that a lot of these husbands, they have to give in a bit when dealing with these Luciferian women. Or the woman is going to try to initiate a divorce or try to make his life hell. At the end of the day, brothers, it's not really that complex. When you're dealing with the woman and her friends, the focus has to be on you and her. She has to understand that the women have to get put to the side. It's just like life. You go to elementary school, you have elementary school friends. You go to the next level, now you meet junior high school friends, and then high school friends, and then college, and then the workplace, or what have you. The people around you change. That's a part of growth. That's a part of life. The only way that people ascend with you from level to level is if they have the same mindset that you have, and that's rare. So the woman that you're with has to understand that. If she's ready to grow into something and her friends are not, the friends have to go, but she has to figure that out. You can't always be trying to force stuff on her, because if she can't figure it out naturally, she's going to fuck it up anyway.
They're going to go.
So clearly there are underlying problems than just not liking your friend. But what are some tips that couples can work on in that situation?
That's easy. Focus on one another, have a lot of sex, have real conversations. That's it. It ain't that damn deep. If your woman is always on the phone with her homegirl instead of talking to you, that's one of her ways of showing you that you should not take her that seriously. Once again, it's up to the man to observe this shit. Relationships are not that complex, man. They're really not that complex. Y'all have to be able to have real conversations. Y'all have to have a lot of sex. And y'all have to be focused on one another. Ain't that damn deep.
You want to really first understand that there are other people in your marriage. So we often think in-laws can be very meddling, but you have to understand there are friends in this marriage. They're part of it, really. So that's number one. You want to understand then, what is that issue? I don't like your friends, but why don't I like them? She's a drama queen, or she's a bad influence, or I'm feeling threatened. You want to get at that underlying issue, because
as a grown man, you're never supposed to feel threatened by your woman's friend. Once again, if you're allowing yourself to become too spiritually vulnerable to your significant other before you have an appropriate chance to get to know them, that's a you problem. That's not the friend's problem. In other words, if you allow yourself to quote unquote fall in love with this woman, meanwhile you had no idea how her friends were, that's a you problem. You made a big mistake. Because the friend probably didn't know her since junior high school. They probably been fighting around town since they was 12, 13 years old. Now all of a sudden you meet some broad you know for 3 months, y'all go on a few dates, she give you some ass, now you in love. And you talking about your friend is trying to ruin our relationship. Y'all don't have no relationship. You just the guy that she's fucking for this moment. And you keep messing with her, she gonna leave your ass high and dry. Have your ass in the bedroom curled up in a fetal position with the quilt all balled up under your chin. Playing Mario Winans, I don't want to know if she playing me. In the bed, butt naked with some Timberland boots on.
Because even if you got rid of the friend, it's going to come back later.
I think that, though, you may be able to have a situation where the guy is attempting to win over the girlfriends because you know that they play such an important role in the...
Look, brothers, we all know that when you get around your woman's friends or her family, you have to be personable to a degree, as personable as possible, respectful, respectable, things of that nature. But you don't have to put on a clown show to entertain this woman's friends, man. At the end of the day, your woman's friends, their mindset should be on their man. And I say that all the time. If people were concerned and focused on the things that they should be focused on, there'd be a lot less drama and confusion on the planet Earth. But people are so focused on getting into other people's business and trying to cause chaos. Why is that? Because their life is empty. There's too many people out here who have empty lives. They have too much idle time. And that's based off of a lot of these Luciferian ideologies like feminism. You have a lot of females out here 30, 35, 40 years old, still single. Why is that? Because this is not a society that's based on bringing the man and the woman together. It's based on keeping them apart. So now if you have a 32-year-old woman who has a 32-year-old friend and a 32-year-old friend is with a man, she's trying to nitpick their relationship because she wants her homegirl back. Why is that? Because if she don't get her homegirl back, now she has to go to the bar all by herself. Now it becomes more apparent to her that she's made a series of bad decisions in her relationships, in her personal life. See, as long as they have a clique of thotties around them, they can act like they're out there having fun and jet setting.
Another, and so you'd want
Are you
them to like...
speaking from personal experience, or you're just...
Tell me, well, I'm a very nice person. I try to,
No one...
In other words, you have no backbone. I mean, come on, Blot. Anybody could look at you and say you have no backbone, no spine whatsoever. I could see the strings coming up out of your back.
No one said you weren't nice, Dad.
Like I'm all defensive.
Or you got lots of friends, Dad.
So if the guy's trying to win over the friends,
It's smart. That's a smart
There you go.
approach.
No, it's not smart. You don't waste time trying to win over anybody. The person that you have to treat with the most respect is your woman's father, if the father is around. That's the person that you should be trying to show respect for and understanding towards. Because if the father's a man of wisdom, he's going to be looking to see if you exhibit the traits of manhood that, are necessary to be with his daughter. Nowadays, the father ain't even in the home. So, the main thing that you have to do is just be respectful and be observant, man. Always be observant, especially with these women.
Right? Because it's good. Hopefully you will have friends. They're awesome, right? For people, they support your spouse, they support your marriage, so it's good to bring them in.
all right.
It's good to bring them in. Are you married, Miss Elizabeth Bernstein? Or are you another shaggy dog on TV talking shit, howling at the moon as soon as you leave the studio?
Thank you, Elizabeth. This is very interesting.
Thank you.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I bet it is interesting, Gail. Hopefully the next time you can snag a man, next time you put that bear trap down outside of your apartment, you can snag a man. Hopefully you can keep him, as opposed to being concerned about what Oprah is going to say about him. For Oprah steal another man from you, allegedly.
Good to see you. So,
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. I'll probably be adding to this series intermittently in regards to understanding that you have to be aware of the people around you and around the people that you love. But anyway, peace.